Hey friends, it's fall and the leaves are magical as they fall to the ground. I love all the beautiful autumn colors, but that also means the gardening season is over and the cold, dark winter is just around the corner. You can't grow a garden in winter, or can you? There are actually many things that you can grow over the winter, which can be a real blessing if you love gardening. So today I'm going to share about 10 things you can plant in the fall and grow over the winter. I live in zone 7. It's not the coldest zone, but it's not the warmest either. I've successfully grown all the crops I'm going to talk about today in zone 7. If you are in zone 7 or higher, these should be no problem. If you live in a zone colder than 7, then you should still be able to grow these, but may need to protect the plants a little if you experience extreme cold weather. But it shouldn't be too difficult to grow most of these, even in colder climates, if you can take the right precautions and give them the right care. Most people think of gardening as a spring or summer activity. That's when everyone gets spring fever and gardening fever. But there are things you can grow in the cold months, and there are great advantages to growing a garden in fall and winter. First of all, winter gardening requires a lot less maintenance. There are a lot less problems with bugs and weeds when it's cold outside. Bugs are usually hibernating, and most weeds can't grow when there's less sun and the temperatures drop. So it's easier to grow garden plants that thrive in colder temperatures. So except for those days when you may have to deal with protecting plants from extreme cold weather, growing in the winter usually requires less attention, less weeding, less watering, less pruning, less harvesting. You get the picture. Second, growing something in your garden over the winter can protect your soil and maybe even improve it. Unused garden space is more susceptible to erosion. With no plant roots to hold the soil in place, it can wash away or lose valuable minerals when unprotected. Planting crops that survive during the winter protect the soil, and some plants can even add valuable minerals to the soil so it will be more fertile next spring. So let's look at 10 crops you can plant in your garden over the winter. I want to start with 3 super easy cover crops that don't require much effort at all. You just plant them, get them established, and then you leave them. So if you like to take a break from the garden in the winter, these can be very useful. They don't require a lot of work, but they can protect and improve your soil while also giving you a chance to see something grow during the cold winter. But if you want to get something back from your garden, they also can provide food. Number 1 is winter wheat. Winter wheat is pretty amazing. It takes root and takes off and grows garlic, the coldest months of winter. And it's so beautiful to see a green patch of grass growing when everything else seems to be dead. Plant winter wheat from September through the end of November, and it will grow through the cold winter. Last year, mine survived a week-long cold snap with temperatures as low as 5 degrees. The most cold-hardy varieties of winter wheat can handle temperatures down to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I actually harvested my winter wheat in May and made my own wheat flour. Plus, I enjoy homemade cream of wheat often. It's so cool to be able to make that and know that I grew that myself. And I have enough to last me all year long. I'll leave a link in the description about how to grow and harvest winter wheat if you're interested. Now, if you don't want the trouble of baking your own wheat flour because it is a lot of work, you can just till the wheat into the soil next spring when you're ready to do your spring gardening. Wheat adds a lot of organic matter and minerals to the soil when you till it in. Number 2 is black oats. Black oats are another winter cover crop that will protect and improve your garden soil over the winter. My wife has a gluten allergy, so this year I'm growing my own oats to make oatmeal. But if you don't want to go to the trouble of harvesting oats, you can just till the oat grass in before it goes to seed, which will add organic matter to the soil. Oats are an excellent weed suppressor, and they also biofumigate the soil to reduce harmful nematodes that can damage other garden plants. Black oats can handle temps down to around 19 degrees. Number 3, chickpeas. Chickpeas are an excellent cover crop to plant that grow over the winter. They can handle temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. If you want to harvest chickpeas, you can harvest them in the spring. Chickpeas, also known as garbanzo beans, are a wonderful edible bean. They're a great addition to rice dishes, Indian recipes, salads, and they're also used to make hummus. But the biggest benefit of chickpeas is adding nitrogen to your soil. Chickpeas are a legume plant which have the ability to take nitrogen from the atmosphere and add it to the soil. And nitrogen is one of the most important minerals in fertilizer. Plants have to have nitrogen. So if you plant chickpeas this winter, they will fertilize your soil all winter and get it ready for your spring garden next year. The first 3 veggies in this list are cover crops. There are several cover crops you can grow over the winter. Do a little research, pick one that's right for you. But now I want to move on to some more traditional garden vegetables that you can grow in winter. Number 4 is onions. Onions are a great plant to grow over the winter because they have a long growing season. Some people plant them in early spring, but that doesn't really give the plants long to develop, and it can tie up valuable growing space in spring when you want to plant other things. But if you plant onions in November and December and grow them over the winter, they will have much longer to develop and do better and be bigger, and they will have less problems with weeds. Plus, you'll be able to harvest them and make space for other garden vegetables that prefer spring and early summer weather. Onions can handle temperatures down to as low as 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And don't worry, if the temperature gets below that, it may kill the tops of the onion plants, but not the onion bulb that is actually under the soil. That usually will survive to temperatures much lower than 20 degrees and will easily just resprout new growth and just continue right on where it left off. So even if you have some damage from the cold weather on your onions, they will very quickly Number 5, garlic. Much like onions, garlic has a long growing season, and it can handle temperatures all the way down to negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Garlic actually requires 6 to 8 weeks of cold temperatures in order to induce proper bulbing. So you must overwinter garlic for a proper harvest. And it's so rewarding to grow and harvest your own garlic. It's something that you will eat so much. I mean, it's part of so many dishes as a spice, and there's nothing as good as fresh garlic. And it doesn't take up much space in your garden. You could easily grow enough garlic to last you all year long. It stores well, and it can last for months. You can even plant your remaining garlic cloves next season, so you'll have a continuous supply. So when all your gardening buddies are sitting on the couch doing nothing, you can brag about your garlic that's growing in the garden, even when there's snow on the ground. I know the plants that I mentioned so far aren't exactly what most people think of when they think garden vegetables. Most people think of things like strawberries and carrots. Okay, good, because number 6 is strawberries. Strawberries are great fruit you can grow over the winter. In fact, you really should grow strawberries over the winter because they need that extra time to get established to give you a good harvest. If you wait until spring, like most first-time gardeners do, they just won't get going very fast, and you won't get that great of a harvest because the plants are going to spend all their time trying to grow leaves and plant material, and they're not going to have much time to focus their energy on growing what you want, which is those big, red, juicy strawberries. So depending on which zone you're in, plant your strawberries in September, October, or November and let them grow over the winter. They can handle temperatures all the way down to 20 degrees or even lower. And if the temperatures get down below that, you can use a hoop frame or you can put a protective covering of plastic over it to keep them in the coldest weather. You can even mulch them with a couple inches of straw to protect them from extreme cold weather. Hey, maybe that's where they get the name, strawberries. The great thing about strawberries is they will keep producing year after year. Plant them this winter and you'll harvest sweet, juicy berries next spring and the next as well. Think of all the wonderful things you can make in the years to come from the fresh strawberries from your strawberry patch that you plant at the end of fall and grow over winter. Number 7 is carrots. Carrots are another traditional garden vegetable that you think of when you think of growing a garden. Carrot tops, the green leafy plant you see above the soil, can handle temperatures down to 18 degrees Fahrenheit. But the roots can handle temperature even colder than that. If the cold weather you experience damages the carrot tops, the roots will likely remain unharmed and they'll just grow new tops once the weather warms up a little bit. The cold weather actually helps the carrots taste better. Carrots grown in late spring and summer will likely be bitter. But if you grow them over winter, the carrots will accumulate extra sugar in their roots that acts as a natural antifreeze that will make your carrots sweeter next spring. Now, you do need to make sure you plant your carrots when the weather is still warm enough to germinate the seeds and to get the plants going and get them established before the cold sets in. Ideally, you need 12 weeks before your first frost. But carrots are an excellent garden vegetable to grow over the winter when you're not able to grow a lot of the other things that you traditionally want to grow in your garden. Why grow them in the spring when they're not going to taste as good and when they're going to take up space that you could be using to grow other things? Grow them over the winter. Number 8 is cabbage. Cabbage can often be grown in a mild winter and can handle a mild freeze and temperatures down as low as 24 degrees Fahrenheit. With a little protection from a hoop house or a plastic covering, cabbage can do well in a mild winter. The cabbage I've grown in warmer weather usually suffers from tons of bug infestations, but there is much less bug pressure in the colder months. Number 9 is collards. Collards are another cold hardy plant that I've successfully grown over winter. Collards can handle temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I've actually seen collard leaves frozen in a casing of solid ice. Once the ice melted, the collard leaves were perfectly fine. And similar to carrots, collards taste sweeter when they get some cold weather. Plus, there's fewer bugs around wanting to eat your tasty collard leaves in the winter. Collards are a traditional southern food for New Year's Day, and if you grow them in your garden in the winter, you can harvest them fresh on January 1st. No problem. And as a matter of fact, if you just cut a few leaves from your collards and don't harvest the whole plant, you'll have collards to eat all winter long. And number 10 is kale. Like collards and cabbage, kale grows well and tastes better in cool weather and can handle temperatures down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, while also experiencing less problems from bugs. Plus, my wife makes a delicious kale soup recipe that's perfect for dinner on a cold winter's night. So there you have it. 10 things you can plant and grow in your garden over the winter. Growing stuff in winter can be good for your garden, and it can also be good for you. Because winter gardening keeps you active, and it can help you with depression that often affects people during the colder, darker winter months. Instead of feeling stuck inside, winter gardening gets you outside to breathe some fresh air and soak up vitamin D from the sun, while not requiring so much effort that it keeps you outside all the time in that cold weather. Winter gardening just gets you a dose of that fresh air and sunshine that you crave in the winter months. And it also shows you that things can live and grow even in the harsh conditions of winter. And you can thrive too, even if you feel like things are hard. I want to leave you with 2 verses from the Holy Bible that may encourage you if you are feeling depressed. Deuteronomy 31:8 says, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." When I'm feeling depressed, it can feel quite lonely and feel like there's very little good to encourage me. But this verse reminds me that I'm not alone. The Lord himself is with me. I don't have to be afraid or discouraged. That helps lift my spirits when the cold darkness of winter creeps into my thinking. God is with me. I'm not alone. And that is a very good thing. And that makes me feel better. And then there's this verse from the New Testament that reminds me to take control of my own thoughts. Philippians 4:8 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things." Much of the time, I can either feed my winter depression or I can starve it by changing the way I think. When my thoughts dwell on the depressing darkness and cold of winter or of life, I find it is better to change my thinking and ponder what is lovely and admirable and good. Feed your happiness and starve the depression. Look for what is lovely in the world, even in winter. Look for what is lovely in your life, even when things are hard. And give thanks to God. It may help you feel better. And don't be afraid to reach out to someone, a friend, a pastor, or even a doctor, if depression starts taking over your life. There's help available, and it is okay to ask for help. Thanks for watching today. Now, let's get out there and let's grow and be fruitful.